Talking about miracles, one of the things that transpired in my life is very simple. I, I was in a kibbutz Hulda. This was in 1973. I had an upset stomach. So my daughter had been born, and with all the ensuing things that transpire when a new baby comes into this world, so I had an upset stomach, maybe from the food, maybe from this and that. So the doctor in the kibbutz sent me to have an X-ray done. So I went, had the X-ray done, and a couple of days later, I get a telephone call. I'm out in the fields, plowing the fields of the kibbutz, and one of the men comes out. He says, "Yaakov, you have to go to the hospital immediately." Why? What's wrong? I don't know. The hospital called that you have to come in quickly and you have to see Dr. Bass. He's waiting for you. All right, so I go and get a ride to the kibbutz, from the kibbutz to the hospital, Kaplan Hospital. And I see Dr. Bass, and he says, "Look," he says, he shows me this X-ray, and you see in the X-ray, you see a white stripe indicating that there is a lesion in my stomach. So he says I have to operate immediately, because if that lesion breaks, all the things in your stomach will fall out and it's an immediate death. So I have to do the operation. So I says, "Doctor, I can't. I have a new daughter. I have to make provisions for her, for somebody in the kibbutz to take care of her, because my wife is in the hospital. She just had a how do you say kisamara in English? Anyway, I'll think of the word in a minute. Anyway, so she was in the hospital also, so she was not home. So he says, no, I can't take the responsibility. I have to operate immediately because I don't want you to go away, etc." So I says, "Okay, but I can't. I will come in tomorrow morning and we can do it then." He says, "All right." I finally convinced him. So then he says, "Okay, before you go back to the kibbutz, I want you to have some X-rays. They're waiting for you in the X-ray department, and I will get the results of these X-rays." So I go back to the kibbutz, and tomorrow, the next day, I go and I see Dr. Bass, and he's waiting for me, and there's 5 other doctors around him, and he's showing them the lesion in my stomach, and he's explaining and so forth. And and so they're asking me all kinds of questions. How do you feel? Do you have any pain? No, I don't have any particular amounts of pain. It's just a question that I didn't feel good. Maybe I had a nervous stomach or whatever, and so forth. Anyway, so they're asking me all these various questions to determine how bad the situation is. So then Dr. Bass says, "Okay, here, have a look at these X-rays, which I took yesterday afternoon. And there is no indication of any lesions. So the conclusion is obvious that something had gone wrong with the original X-ray that was taken in what we call the Kupat Cholim. And so therefore, there's nothing." So can you imagine? Here, he would have operated on me. I'm not so sure if he would have operated without another X-ray, but nonetheless, he probably would have operated. And of course, then, with the end result of who knows what. So the miracle was that I was not able that day to have the operation. Now, this Dr. Bass is a terrific doctor. Not only that, back in the Entebbe rescue, do you remember this? In 1977, for the anniversary of the United States, the terrorists had taken a Air France plane, hijacked it to Uganda. Now, here in Israel, we were all upset. I know. I remember I was upset. I remember going to God, and I remember saying, here we are all gathered together, and here, these bad guys are still running our lives. And this was a Shabbat evening. And of course, I woke up the next day, which is a Sunday after that. I woke up and our neighbor is screaming all over the place. They're rescued, they're rescued. The army has rescued them. And we're saying, wow, what are you talking? And so put on the radio, put on the radio, put on the radio. And of course, the Israeli army had landed in Entebbe and released the people, the hostages. Now, going back in time, how did the intelligence information get to the Israeli Secret Service to be able to plan? You just can't go and say, okay, fellas, go over there and do it. No, you have to have information. Where are the captives held? How many guards are there? Where are they stationed? What is the fluctuation? And so the intelligence necessary for an operation on a major scale, which the rescue of the Entebbe hostages was, needs a lot of planning. So here, Dr. Bass was one of the passengers in the Air France plane hijacked to Uganda, but the terrorists, because he had an American passport, didn't realize that he's a Jew. So he was not put with the other Jews as a prisoner. He was released with the other who were non-Jews. Gets to France, and of course the Israeli Secret Service is all over him. How is this? Where is that? How? And so on. Getting the necessary intelligence to make the operation a success, which, as we all recall, it was. There are those in America who called it a gift to America. Anyway, it was a gift for us too. Okay, I just thought I'd pass that little bit of information on to you.